Hello everybody, my name is Ann Théato and welcome to the Psychic Matters podcast, episode number 9. This week I have another incredible guest on the show and you will be blown away by the stories this lady has to share with us. Professional psychic medium, animal communicator and best-selling author Mari Cartagenova is on the show. If you have ever wondered how animals can communicate with us, or if you have ever wanted to talk to your pet to find out how they are feeling, or if you want to try to locate a missing animal, this podcast will teach you how. Not only will you be astonished by the revelation that animals are communicating with us all the time, but you will be amazed at how simple it is to do this yourself. Mari is a wonderfully talented lady who will teach you how, by being open and non-judgemental, you can talk to your pet. She'll teach you why animals in the spirit world come back to visit us and what communicating with animals feels like. Not only that, Mari talks to us of her great work as a psychic medium, the benefits of soul-to-soul communication, how to heal past traumas through past life regression therapy, and the importance of connecting to the spirit world to provide answers and to help people heal. It is a fantastic episode. So, if you are ready, let's begin. I'm here today with my special guest, Mari Cartagenova. She's an incredibly talented lady. She has trained and worked with some of the top mediums from all over the world. She's been double tested, vetted, and approved by Shay Parker's Best American Psychics, as well as Bob Olson's Best Psychic Directory. She's a professional psychic medium, animal communicator, and best-selling author with clients from all over the globe. Mari Cartagenova, welcome to Psychic Matters.
Thank you so much, Anne, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's so exciting to be on your new podcast, and I'm glad to be chatting with you from across the pond.
I know, it's so great. So whereabouts are you in America? Where are you based?
I am outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I have an office, not that anyone would know, but it's in Westford, Massachusetts, which is about 45 minutes outside of Boston. And I see, obviously, a lot of people remotely. They're over the phone or Skype or Zoom, and it's really been great.
So let's go there first, because a lot of people might say, how can you work if you're not sitting next to the medium? How does that work across Skype or Zoom or the internet? Can you say a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And I get that question a lot, especially with the animals, because I do a lot of animal communication. People say, oh, do I need to bring my horse or, my dog? And, honestly, energy is the same everywhere. And whether it's over the phone or through Skype, you're really connecting to the energy. So it's not really about having the person so much in front of you or the animal. It's really connecting to their energy around them. And you don't need to be in person for that. You can be on any of these other ways of connecting to people, and it's just the same. So, and honestly, sometimes with animals, I find it's a lot better to just work off a photo, because sometimes if you have the animal in front of you, particularly like I do a lot of work with horses as well, and they're so big that they can almost, not get in the way of the reading, but if they're frustrated or they don't want to sit still or whatever, it makes it a little difficult for you to do the reading. So when I'm working off a picture, I'm just connecting to their energy, and then I don't have to worry so much about the physical with them.
Wow. So tell us then, let's go to the animal communication. How does that work? Can you talk us through the process? People contact you for what sort of reasons, and then they give you a photograph of their beloved pet, and how do you tune in and what happens?
Absolutely. Well, for me, because I do mediumship with people as well, it's a very similar connective process. And it's interesting because I know a lot of mediums say, oh, I don't work with animals. And when I was just starting out, I heard that and I was thinking, oh, maybe it's like a lot harder or something. But honestly, working with animals is in some ways easier because they're so honest. And just connecting with them, they don't have that human, foibles and fables like we people do. But the animals are just open and honest. And so in terms of connecting with them, it's really very similar to a mediumship connection, only like I said, it's a little bit easier. What I do personally for my practice is I center myself. I usually do some type of meditation or grounding exercise. And then it's really a matter of getting out of your headspace and really more into your body, into your chakras, specifically like your heart chakra, and being open and allowing those messages to come in. And when I do mentorships as well with people, either with mediumship or animal communication. And this is a lot of the process that we go through, is really doing the grounding, clearing your energy, allowing your heart chakra, your body to be open to receiving, your energetic body, I mean, not your physical body. And then sort of allowing the information to come in. And I know people who maybe aren't familiar with mediumship or animal communication, they think the messages are like, something really loud or something like, the animal's like, hey, Mari, what's up? I just wanted to tell you I had the best meal today or something.
Yeah.
But it's not quite like that. It's more, and this because you do the same work, it's more sort of like a gentle whisper or something that really just touches your energy in a very light way. And for me, when I'm connecting with animals and with people as well, because I'm very clairvoyant, which means I can see things, with my energetic eye. And so they'll show me like little pictures or movies, almost looks like a clip of a movie. And they'll show me, like I, had a dog that was showing me his fingernails and, this little girl that was painting his fingernails. And so when I was talking to the client, I'm like, he's talking to me about getting his fingernails painted. Do you understand that? And the lady started laughing. She's like, oh yeah, my granddaughter comes over and likes to paint his nails. So, so it basically
cute.
works like that.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you get into this work, Mari? Specifically with animal communication?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I guess, if anyone's read my bio or whatever, I've been, like to say, quote unquote, I've been this way my whole life. When I was little, I used to see angels and spirits would talk to me. And as, being a little kid, I thought, hey, like, this is normal. This is what happens to everybody. And as I grew older, I realized that is not what happens to everybody. And people kind of thought I was a little weird. So I kind of kept that hidden to myself, but it was still happening. I would still connect with spirit and connect with animals and even elementals like trees. I was the little kid that would be hugging the tree and my classmates would be looking at me askance. But in terms of working specifically with animals, as I started to work through mediumship, and I remember specifically this conversation I had with another medium who was talking about that it's so hard to connect with animals. And I was like, I wonder if that's really true. And so I just basically started doing it. The connecting with animals piece. And I just find, like I said earlier, the animals are so open and so honest, because they are really just about love and they really just want to get that through to their humans. And so there's no, intermediary. They don't have an agenda. And so I just sort of started connecting to them and I realized that it was rather easy for me. And just since then, I've been doing it. And I love working with the animals. And it's probably about, 50% of my business, I would say.
Goodness. So you work also with lost animals or missing animals. How do you find them?
Well, that is a good question. Now, people have asked me that. And, my understanding and my feeling is I tune in the same way that I do for any of my, readings. And then the animal, it's almost like it's not like I'm seeing it through their eyes. It's almost like if I were a GoPro or something on top of their head. So I am seeing the path that they're on, but almost on the side, if that makes any sense. And I basically, at some point I wasn't doing missing animal cases. And then there was a friend of mine whose dog went missing. And, they lived in Ireland and they're like, oh my God, our dog. And it's a long story, but basically over the course of 6 days, I tracked this dog all over, through the hills of Ireland, and the dog kept showing me the number 6. And I said to the woman, this is all through text. I said, you keep showing me 6. Do you understand that? And she said, well, it turns out they were taking a walk in the mountains somewhere outside of in Ireland. And she said, yeah, we were walking and we lost him, but, by the cabin number 6. And I said, yeah, I think it's more than that, though, because he keeps talking to me about that. And he was showing me areas he had been through, like the school area. And he described this particular building that he had been past. And I was passing all this information along to her. And basically, when you're working with missing animals, it has to be a partnership, because clearly, I'm not in Ireland. I've never been there. And so there has to be a person on the ground following all the clues that I'm getting from the animals. So the owner was running around this part of town and sending me pictures. And I'm like, yep, that's the building he passed. And he talked about a certain house he had been at. And she went and knocked on the door of the house. And the person was like, yeah, I saw that dog running through my yard yesterday. And so it was almost like we're like on this detective hunt a little bit. And to make a long story short, he ended up being found at the opening of this logging area, which he had shown me at 6:00 on the 6th day he was lost at this particular area he had described, which was notated by a little red ribbon by the logging area. So it was pretty amazing. And I'm just grateful I'm able to connect with them, and they're able to show me these things and able to bring them home.
That is incredible. What an incredible story. If you've got a pet who is, say, misbehaving, do you work with the owner as well as the pet?
Absolutely. I mean, basically the way it works is and that is some of the cases I get, they'll say, I don't know why the dog is, chewing his paw or whatever it is they're doing. And I will connect to the animal and I'll ask them energetically, say, hey, what's going on? Are you upset? Is there something bothering you? And they will tell me. And it could be anything from, there was one animal that kept like doing something with his face, rubbing his face on the ground, like over and over again. And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling my tooth, because I will feel, the issues that the animal is feeling in my own body. And so I was feeling like, yeah, my left jaw is kind of bothering me. I think you should probably take the pet to the vet, because clearly, I'm not a medical professional. I cannot, diagnose or treat, but so she ended up taking her dog to the vet, and he had an abscess in one of his teeth in the back. And so that's why he was doing it. And, I was just able to tell her like, hey, this is sort of pinpoint the area of where there's an issue. And it's the same thing with behavioral issues. Like I had a client that one of her dogs was like going crazy at night. He would go to the hallway, a specific spot in the hallway, and he would run up and down and bark. And this owner was like, what is going on? And it was, really bothering the family, obviously, keeping everybody up. And so I talked to the dog, and he told me about there was another spirit. And I know this might sound a little out there to some of your listeners, but there's another spirit animal that had passed in the house. And he was still there because he liked the house. And even though these were new owners of the property, he just kind of liked to pop in. And so when I talked to the dog that was, that's living, I sort of explained, hey, this is this other dog. And then when I talked to the owner, she was like, yeah, the family that moved out, they had this dog that passed in the house. And I described the dog, and it was exactly the same dog that had passed. So it was sort of between the owner and the dog. I was able to sort of tell them both, look, you can chill out. It's just the spirit. He just kind of wants to pop in and say hello. And after I explained that to the client's dog, he was like, oh, okay. And he was able to calm down, and they were sort of both able to accept there was this other spirit here who was just kind of, popping in and saying hi, and everything was fine. So
gosh, that just makes me smile so much to know that our lovely pets, when they've gone over to the other side, can come back in visitation. It's so lovely.
Absolutely, because they're souls just like us. To me, there's no difference, whether it's an animal or a person, because we are all souls and all sparks of the divine. So, when you're connecting to that, the energy is the same. So whether your, grandfather comes back or if it's your dog Spot, it's all the same energy. And so that's why we're able to connect.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And you've written a book called Heaven Sent. Tell us about your book.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's actually a really great book. It's a multi-author compilation, so it's not just me. It's a number of other authors as well, and they are all true stories of how animals touched our hearts in miraculous ways. And my part of the book, I talk about our cat, beloved cat, Mr. Fur, and how he came to us and how he came back in visitations. As we're talking about visitations, and it's a really beautiful book for anybody that loves animals. I highly recommend picking up a copy. It's on Amazon and, easy to find. And it's just a lot of, I think it's like 20 or so stories of people and how their pets have helped them through crossing or through, sicknesses. And it's really lots of beautiful stories. Get your tissues out because there are some tear jerkers in there.
Oh, I will have to buy a copy. It sounds beautiful. Heaven sent. I'll put the links in the show notes for this episode so
Thank you.
people can
Thank you.
find it. Mari, how would somebody at home, if they wanted to communicate with their pet, have you got an exercise that they could do?
Absolutely. And it is, and people think it's, and I always tell everybody, like, I'm not magical. Like what I do, I'm not magical. I don't have any special powers. Anyone can connect to their animals and their loved ones if they want to. It's like I tell people, if you wanted to be a bodybuilder, you'd go to the gym and you'd cut carbs and all that kind of stuff. You would train yourself. So in terms of connecting to your animals, I developed a really easy exercise, which I call Cora, Cora. And it's basically clearing your energy, which would just basically be sort of surrounding yourself in a bubble and imagining all of the energy, anything you don't need sort of dripping down into the ground. The O is opening your heart chakra, the green heart chakra energy, and sort of allowing any of that information to be able to come to you. The R is releasing expectations, which is a big one because people are always thinking that, their animals are going to have some, or even their people are going to have something, like the lottery numbers or something, but it's not so much that. So it's really, the R is for releasing expectation and just allowing whatever there is to come to them. And then the A of the Cora is allow the information to come in. So it's a matter of basically sitting down, allowing everything to come to you as it is. You have to first make sure that you are open and sort of in that meditative or receiving state, and then don't judge whatever they're giving you. I mean, the animals will tell you, I don't want to say the strangest things, but, sometimes they'll talk about, like, I don't really like my owner, or, this, like I had one cat that was talking to me about, he showed me this really weird toy and I was describing it. I'm like, this looks like a green fuzzy pea pod. And to me, that didn't really make any sense. And then the owner ended up sending me a picture of this cat with this fuzzy green pea pod toy. So it's a matter of allowing what comes to you and not judging it and just basically being open. So it's sitting, being open, receiving, and allowing the information to come in without judgment. So that's, pretty an easy, it may sound a little complicated, but it's really not once you sit with that and practice the steps. And if anybody needs any clarification, certainly they can shoot me a text or a message, and I'm happy to send them that exercise as well.
Oh, that would be fabulous. And again, I'll put your contact details on the show notes too, and we'll talk
Perfect.
about those at the end of this podcast, so people can find you. And another thing you mentioned was that you do workshops for people to learn how to do this. So do you want to say a little bit about those?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, given now that we're in the age of the coronavirus, everything has changed a little bit. But I certainly, in my local area, I do workshops on connecting to animals. I do some classes now online to be able to connect to your animals. And then I offer a mentorship. There are some people that, for whatever reason, just want to learn one-on-one. And if you do a mentorship with me, you have my full attention, and we can meet for, between 4 and 10 sessions. And we just go through all the steps of connecting. We do a lot of practice exercises. And, I have a lot of information that I can send you about connecting to your animals. And some, people really like that. They really enjoy having that one-on-one time with me where I can walk them through all the steps and practice and give helpful notes and stuff like that. So I'm doing that online, and certainly once the coronavirus, God willing, goes away, I'll be doing it again in person as well.
Well, that's brilliant. So I'm sure people would be very interested in that. That sounds absolutely fascinating and nice to be on a one-on-one as well with something like that. I think that's a really wonderful way to work.
Thank you.
So you say animal communication is 50% of your work. So talk to us about the other 50%. What else do you do, Mari?
Well, I would say along with the animal communication, and my air quotes is regular mediumship or connecting with people's loved ones that have crossed over. That's a big percentage of my business as well. And certainly also people come to me for psychic readings if they need help with, what's going on in my life in the future, or, what's going on in my job or romantic relationships. And also there's something that I do called soul readings, which is really more about, your past lives and what your soul is really aching to do in terms of like your direction. If you're sort of feeling lost, like, I don't know what to do with myself, I feel like there's something I should be doing, but I'm not sure what it is. That's really more of a soul to soul reading, really connecting on the soul level and sort of figuring out what you've done in the past and where your soul would like to go in the future. So that's something that I do as well. So there's, multifacets to my business, and I just love working with people. And I'm a licensed therapist. So prior to doing this, I was working with people in that way. So for me, it's really about the healing, whether it's through the animals, through the mediumship, through the soul to soul. It's all about providing answers and helping people heal with whatever issue they have going on.
Tell us, Mari, that sounds just incredible, all the different skills that you have. Tell us more about the soul work, because people might be very interested in that. What kind of things, can you give us an example of a soul to soul reading with somebody, how that might go? People may be more familiar with a psychic reading, or they may be familiar with us being able to bring through people from the spirit world with messages, but perhaps people aren't quite as au fait with soul readings. So how do they work?
Well, it's very interesting, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's a common part of my business because it's not something that everybody really is interested in or feel drawn to. But for certain people, they really just have this like yearning, like, I know I need to be doing something and I don't know what it is. And the soul reading for me is really connecting with them on an energetic and soul level, as opposed to connecting to a loved one or to an animal. I'm connecting directly to the client and almost going into through their past lives and things that have happened to them. And spirit will just sort of drop things in. Like I had a client and I was connecting to them and I kept seeing them in a past life working as a farrier or working as around horses. Farrier is somebody that shoes the horses. And that during this connection, I felt like myself almost getting kicked in the stomach, or there was a blow. This person ended up getting kicked by a horse. And as I connected further with them, and as we chatted after about this connection, this person said, I've always been terrified of horses. And anytime I ever go to the barn with my daughter, I can't walk behind the horses, and I've never had any accident. I've never had anything happen. But she just had this almost like deep-seated fear of walking behind the horses. And after we did this reading, she was like, oh, well, now I understand, because it wasn't from this lifetime. It was from a different lifetime. And that sort of helped her put a little bit of perspective on why she was having that feeling. So you can sort of work through any type of issues or fears you have during this lifetime, or in terms of where you should be going. I've worked with people that, are really drawn to working in the spiritual realm, whether it's being a shaman or psychic or a medicine person. And I'll connect with them on a soul level and find out, well, that's what they've been doing for, 30 different, lifetimes. So it feels very familiar to them. But in this lifetime, they just had a lot of issues getting there, like, oh, what will people think, et cetera, et cetera. But being able to connect to what someone did in the past opens up that door if they want to continue going there in the future. And it also validates their feelings. Like this, one of my clients was like, I don't understand. Like, I'm a lawyer, but I keep getting these dreams about being a shaman and about healing people and about using smudge sticks and herbal medicine. And I feel like I'm going crazy because I'm a lawyer and that's what I do. And by connecting to this soul level of who they have been through different lifetimes, I'm able to sort of guide them and say, you're not going crazy. It's just your energy, your DNA has this shaman piece imprinted on it. And that's why you keep moving there and going to that space. And even though you might enjoy being a lawyer or whatever it is you're doing, that may not be what you're meant to be doing this time and this go around. So it sort of helps provide clarity in terms of what people want to do with their lives and what their soul is really pushing them to do.
Yeah, because our human beings get in the way so much. Excuse me,
yes.
don't they? But our conscious minds come in and then we just get separated from what we're put here to do or the work that we're meant to be doing.
Exactly.
And we end up doing, I don't know, things that boring jobs, living a life that's unfulfilled. A lot of us have to do boring jobs. I am one of those people. I do have part of my life is a boring job.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about bringing in things that make your soul sing, I think, and trying to identify what those things are so that you can enrich your life.
Absolutely, 100%. And you're so right that the human gets in the way. And it's our human self, and it's also the people around us. A lot of people that I know, like, oh, I could never do that. My family would disown me, or they would think I'm crazy, or there's all that type of societal input, families, friends, etc., that sort of gets in the way of really connecting to your own voice. And I feel like when you sit for a soul to soul reading or with anybody in our profession, you're able to get some clarity in terms of what you as a person, as a soul, really want to be doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Mari, really beautiful. And so where do you think your interests lie at the moment? I think for me, as a medium and a healer and a past life regressionist and all of those things, my work is going in a certain way at the moment, and it changes from every few months. I have a different things happen within my work. Currently, for instance, I'm exploring taking people into deep hypnosis and bringing their loved ones through from the spirit world so they can have this 3-dimensional experience of meeting them. So I'm combining my mediumship with my past life regression therapy. Where are you at the moment, Mari, with your work? What's the driving force at the moment for you and where you're heading?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because you're totally right that it does change, because you might get into something and feel like, oh, this is really what I want to be doing, but then you keep getting pushed in another area. So for me right now, and I guess it's always been the animals. I love, I really love doing mediumship. I love doing demonstrations, which for your listeners, is like a gallery reading, getting up on stage and demonstrating, connecting to spirit. But of course, whenever I'm doing that, there's always animals that come in. So the animals are always around me, and and I love working with the animals. So I would say I'm being pushed more towards the animals, but honestly, I try to keep a foot in both worlds, because I love working with people and offering the healing that the mediumship piece provides, and just, proving that life continues beyond, what the physical is right now. And so they know that their loved ones are okay, and that, that they're in a good place, et cetera. I'm giving them specific information that, I would have no way of knowing otherwise. Because a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I don't know about this. This seems kind of crazy. They're skeptical, which I understand. because at one point in my life, I was like, am I going mad, or is this really happening to me? Because you don't really know until you really sort of dive into it. So I love providing that healing. And I feel like my therapeutic background, is really well suited for that, because people will come and perhaps they had a fight with their dad before they passed, and just trying to work out all those pieces so that the person that is still here has some peace, and the soul that is crossed knows that their daughter, for instance, has heard them and has heard their apology. And that way both parties, the past and the one that's here, can both move on in a way. So it's providing that, energetic closure for both parties. And I love that. And I never really want to give up working with people. But the animals, again, are always around me, and they always seem to find me. So I do get a lot of people calling me for animal communication with their animals that have passed or their animals that are still here. And, I love animals. So that's definitely always going to be a big part of my practice.
That's so great. And animals really need a voice. And it's fantastic that you're working in that field on their behalf, Mari.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
So where can people find you? People want to come and see you. They want to come to you for a reading. They can come for psychic or soul to soul or tarot or past life or animal communications. They can come for your workshops. They can buy your book. Where will they find you on the internet?
Well, the best place to find me is my website, which is mediummari.com. So it's mediummari.com. And I also have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube channel. So all those links are on my website. That's probably the easiest way to find me. And certainly if you're in Massachusetts or New England, once the coronavirus has left us, which God willing will be soon, I have an office in Westford, Massachusetts at Tranquility Wellness Center, and I see people in person there. So that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And certainly now I'm doing a lot of online sessions, Zoom, or, if you're not a techie, over the phone works just as well. So I can connect in any of those ways.
Oh, how brilliant. Thank you, Mari. And of course, all of that will be in the show notes as well. So people can just head over to my website, pick up the show notes, and they'll be directed over to Mari. Thank you so much for coming onto the show and telling us all about the work that you're doing out there. It's very, very vital work. And it just sounds like you're touching a lot of hearts of both people and the animal kingdom. And thank you, Mari, for sharing everything that you have today.
Absolutely. It's my greatest pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to be on the show. And, I love, again, working with people or animals. And my goal really is to bring healing in whatever aspect I'm working with, because that's important. That's why we're all here, is to help the other souls, get to the other side, I guess, in the best and most loving way possible. So again, thank you so much for your time and putting together this podcast, which is brilliant and very informative. So thank you again.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, Mari, and thanks. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Mari Cartagenova, professional psychic medium, animal communicator, and best-selling author, whose book Heaven Sent is available on Amazon. And Mari has also said if anyone out there who is listening is interested in receiving a signed copy of her book, you can buy it directly on her website, www.mediummari.com. And with that, you get a free gift too. It just remains for me to say a very big thank you to all of you Psychic Matters listeners. As ever, I really, really appreciate you, and thank you so much for listening. If you want to pick up the show notes for this episode, which always includes a complete transcript of the entire show, plus links and resources that have been mentioned, do head over to my website, anntheato.com, and you'll find them over there. That's ANNTHEATO.com. We have a very active Psychic Matters Facebook group now, so lots of you have become members and joined in the conversation. If you haven't done so yet, please do head over there and join us as we discuss all things paranormal. And thank you to everyone who has taken the time to write some really, really lovely reviews for this podcast. I so appreciate you. And if you haven't done so yet, can I ask you to go over to Apple Podcasts and write an honest review? That would really help so much with algorithms and ratings and so on and so forth. Have a fantastic couple of weeks, everybody, and stay safe out there. And do try talking to your pets this week and let us know how you get on. Until next time, my name is Ann Théato, and thank you for listening to Psychic Matters.